this semester for the online section of World History 1. Before we log into the course shell, I want to point out 3 areas that are really important on the Blackboard homepage. If you have any technical difficulties this semester, at the bottom left side there's a section that says Help and Resource. So if you're having any technical difficulties, you can submit a help desk request form and a person will contact you and help you with your difficulties. There's also a section where you can check your browser. It's browser checker. So if Chrome or Firefox or Edge are not syncing right with Blackboard, you can check your browser and find out why. The other 2 sections are the announcement section and the Galileo section. The announcement section is very important because it shows announcements for all of your classes, but I want to focus on World History 1. I post announcements 1 to 2 times a week. I'll normally post an announcement on Monday, and then I may post one toward the end of the week to remind you about assignments that are due or videos that I post. But I will constantly be posting announcements, and you'll actually get an email when I send announcements out. But you really want to pay attention to these announcements because I may give you tips on how to do assignments like the reflection paper. Or I may send you to something that's very interesting and may benefit you for your SLO essay. So check your announcements. The last section I want to talk about is the Galileo section. Galileo stands for Georgia Library Learning Online. And if you go there, it's basically an online library. You can search topics and get scholarly articles. And it will be very helpful for you when you're writing your SLO essay because you'll be able to find scholarly sources that you can cite. Now let's go into our course shell. When you click on the course, this will bring you to the home page. If we look at the left-hand side of the home page, you'll see a lot of tabs. I'm going to go ahead and turn my edit mode off so that I'm in student view so I see exactly what you see. If you look to the left-hand side, you'll see a home page button, announcements, syllabus, calendar, lessons, attendance, my grades, and messages. The first thing I really want to point out is the syllabus tab. So I'm going to go over the syllabus really quick. I'm not going to read everything, but I'm going to go over the key things. We are going to be looking at world history to 1600. So we're going to look at prehistory all the way up to the year 1600. Our CRN is 41408, and we're meeting completely online. My name is Dr. Nancy Hurd. My email address is nancy.hurd@westgatech.edu. If you have any questions about the material or assignments, feel free to email me or message me in Blackboard. I'll be glad to answer questions about this class. The textbook for this class is free. It's called World History, Culture, States, and Societies to 1500. You can click this blue link here and it will actually take you to the textbook, but it's completely free. It's an online ebook. The second page of the syllabus talks about student learning outcomes, and it also addresses West Georgia Technical College's academic policies, procedures, and student resources. So if you want to learn more about academic integrity or about the withdrawal process or the academic calendar, click these blue links. The academic calendar has very important information on it, like the withdrawal date and spring break date. So if you want to learn more about the academic calendar, click the blue link here. On page 3, we have more information about withdrawing from classes. So if you decide you need to withdraw from your classes, not just this one, but any class, you contact the registrar's office. So you contact registrar@westgatech.edu. Now let's talk about course attendance. Since this is an online class, weekly assignments will be used to track attendance. You must complete at least one weekly assignment to be counted present for that week. And students who do not submit a weekly assignment by the due date each week will be considered absent. If you have perfect attendance for the semester, you will receive bonus points in participation at the end of the semester. The next thing we're going to talk about is academic integrity. One issue we have in history classes sometimes is plagiarism, and plagiarism is a serious offense. The penalty in this course for plagiarism or any other infraction of academic integrity will be a grade of 0 on the assignment. It's not acceptable to plagiarize, and Blackboard actually has a software called SafeAssign that will flag plagiarism. We really expect you to turn in original work that you've done yourself this semester. All work for this course must be original to this course. You cannot submit coursework from prior semesters. So if you took U.S. History 2 last semester and did a museum review, you cannot turn in that same museum review for this semester because that's called resubmission and you would get a 0 on it because it's not original work. So any lying, cheating, stealing are plagiarism, and plagiarism is when you use other people's work and count it as your own, will result in a grade of 0 for the assignment. And if you continue doing this, you'll be reported to the Dean of Students. So we don't want to do that. It's really a serious offense. So let's talk about grades in this class. You have 2 exams. A midterm exam is 20%. A final exam is 20%. They will be multiple choice. You have reflection papers. There are a total of 4 of them at 5% each. They make up 20% of your grade. Then you have a museum review for 10%, activities 15%, SLO, essay is 10%, and participation is 5%. The grade distribution is a 90 to 100 is an A, and then a 0 to 59 is an F. So if you want to look more at the grade distribution, you're welcome to do so. A minimum grade of 70 is required for all occupational courses and for any course that is a prerequisite for a subsequent course. So let's actually look at some of these assignments. Like I said, the exams, there are going to be 2 of them, 20% each. There'll be multiple choice. Reflection papers. So what are these reflection papers? There are 4 of them. They're 5% each, 20% total. The reflection papers should focus on one of the assigned readings found in the Blackboard lessons. They're going to say online readings. They are not the textbook readings. You don't write reflection papers on textbook readings. You write your reflection papers on the online readings, and I'll show you what those are in just a moment. You should use your first paragraph in these reflection papers to quickly summarize the article you are reflecting on, and then for the remainder of the paper, you should give your thoughts, opinions, and ideas of the article. You should always relate it back to historical context. So if you're reading an article on the Romans, tell me what time period it is, what are the Romans doing during this time period. These reflection papers are best when they're 1.5 pages to 2 pages long, double spaced, 12-point font, and they have a clear opinion, an idea, and they relate back to that historical context and really analyze those readings. For the museum exhibit review, students normally go to an actual museum, but since we're in the middle of a COVID pandemic, we'll be looking at virtual museums or watching a historical movie that are approved. There are a list of approved virtual museums and approved historical films below. These reviews should be 2.5 pages to 3 pages long, double spaced. Your first page should include your thoughts and opinions of the museum or movie, similar to a reflection paper. But then you should provide a historical critique of the museum or movie. To do this, you should be answering these questions. So if you're looking at a virtual museum, you should answer questions 1 through 4. And they ask questions like, does the museum explain the virtual exhibit adequately? If you review a historical film, you should answer questions 5 through 8. One example of one of those questions is, how closely does the movie follow real events? So again, these are the list of approved virtual museum list and the approved historical film list. If you look at the approved historical films, there are links, but the links will only take you to the trailer. You are responsible for finding a copy of the movie yourself. Some of these movies are on Hulu, some of them are on Netflix, but they're widely available movies. You should be able to find them. So activities include discussion boards and assigned quizzes. The SLO essay for this class is required from West Georgia Technical College, and it is the long paper for this class. It is 5 to 7 double-spaced pages, and it explains the causes and effects of the Protestant Reformation and the resulting Catholic Reformation. You have to follow Chicago-style formatting, which is different from MLA or APA, but we will go over more about this as we move forward and get closer to the SLO due date. But you can look in Blackboard for more information about Chicago-style citations. I'll show you where you can find that information. This is the SLO essay grading rubric. This will be how I will grade your SLO. Essays participation, again, is based off your attendance. It's 5% of your final grade. If you have perfect attendance, you'll get extra points. The only other extra credit opportunity you have is you may visit and complete one additional museum exhibit review from the list above. If you have an 88, this could be very beneficial to you because it could bump your grade up to a 90 if you receive all 2 points. There's also a note here about using Blackboard. You want to make sure your browser is compatible with Blackboard, but you also want to make sure your operating system is compatible. Some operating systems are not as compatible. Chromebooks are not as compatible as PCs. So just make sure your system works and you're able to post to the discussion boards and take the quizzes. The last few pages of the syllabus are the course schedule, and it's broken down fairly simple. You've got a lessons column, a text chapter column, topic, assignments, and due date. In the first lesson, we're going to start it on January the 11th. It's chapter 1. We're going to look at prehistory, and your assignments are post your introduction, complete the course agreement, and do discussion 1 and quiz 1. They're due by January 17th at 11:59. And so if you go on down, you'll see it follows the same format. For example, lesson 6 starts on February the 15th. We'll look at chapter 6 and talk about China. You'll complete discussion forum 6 and do quiz 7. It's due on February 21st at 11:59 p.m. So I want to point out some very important assignments. Reflection paper 1 is due on February 7th at 11:59 p.m. Reflection paper 2 is due on February 28th at 11:59 p.m. Reflection paper 3 is due on March 21st at 11:59 p.m. Then you have your museum review due on April 12th at 11:59 p.m. Reflection paper 4 is due on April 25th at 11:59 p.m. And then the SLO essay is due on May 2nd at 11:59 p.m. So those are the big writing assignments. Now let's talk about your exams. The midterm exam will open on March 1st and close on March 7th at 11:59 p.m. The midterm exam will use Lockdown Browser and Blackboard. I will be providing you with more information about how to use Lockdown Browser when we get closer to the midterm, but you will have to download the Lockdown Browser to be able to take this midterm exam. The final exam will open on May 3rd, and it will close on May 9th at 11:59 p.m. The final exam will use Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. If you don't use Respondus Monitor, you will have to go to the campus library at West Georgia Tech and use a proctor. So I will give you more instructions on how to use Lockdown Browser and Respondus as we get closer. If you choose to take your final exam at a West Georgia Technical College campus at the library, please let me know that that's what you plan to do. Alright, let's go back to the syllabus tab. Underneath the syllabus tab, there's also something that says COVID-19 syllabus addendum. Read it. We're not actually an on-campus class, but it's still very important to read West Georgia Technical College policies on COVID-19. If you are coming to campus, you need to make sure you're not sick. You should stay at home if you feel sick or have a fever over 100.4 degrees. Wash your hands. And if you do come on campus, maintain social distancing and wash your hands. But also, If you feel like you are coming down with COVID-19, West Georgia Technical College has a COVID-19 response team. And if you feel like you have COVID-19 and you've been on campus, contact the COVID response team at covid@westgatech.edu because it's very important that you contact them so we can contact trace. Alright, going back to the syllabus tab, you can also find my faculty contact information again. You can find my name and my email address here. But also, the course schedule is here as well. So you can find the course schedule in two different places. Inside the syllabus, and then down here below, under the HIST 1111 course schedule. And so you have the due dates in two different places, but if that's not really working for you and you're still confused about the due dates, you can click this tab over here that says calendar. And if you click the tab that says calendar, you will see due dates in green. And all these due dates in green are the assignments that we have in this class. So if we look at January 17th, you'll see that quiz 1 is due, discussion 1 is due, and the student introductions are due. And so you can see that in January all the way to May when you have your final exam online, when it is open online. So there are three different places that tell you when assignments are due. And I also send announcements so you will really know when your assignments are due. You will get tired of me nagging you, telling you that your assignments are due. You want to make sure that you turn your assignments in on time because they will turn off as soon as the due date rolls in. The next thing I want to look at is the lessons tab. And to get into the lessons tab, as a student, you have to complete the course form agreement. So I'm going to go over here in the syllabus tab and complete this course form agreement really quick. So now we can access the lessons tab. What does the lessons tab actually have inside of it? At the very top of the lessons tab, there's a section that says Respondus. When I was talking about the midterm and final exam, I said that the midterm had to be on Lockdown browser and the final exam had to be on Lockdown and Respondus, or you had to do Lockdown and a Proctor on campus. So if you want to learn more about Respondus Monitor, you would click there, and you can also find out how to download the Lockdown browser. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You could also see where you could take a Respondus Monitor practice exam, and it will tell you if your system is working for Respondus Monitor and what you need to do to make that work. If you have any questions about Lockdown Browser or Respondus, send me a message. I'll be glad to help you with that. But let's go back to the lessons tab. There's also a Q&A section. If you have any general questions, you can post those in the Q&A section. But if you have a specific question about material or assignments, send me a message in Blackboard. There's a message tab right here. I will respond to you quicker if you send me a message. Below that is World History, Culture, States, and Society to 1500. Here's another link to your textbook. I'm going to click on it so you can see the textbook right here. This is the free textbook, and you'll be able to access it, but this is the free textbook we will use. And I'm going to go back into lessons. Underneath that, you have more information about Chicago style citation and the discussion rubric. The SLO requires you to cite in Chicago style. And so, when you quote something or use sources from outside material, you want to make sure you quote it so you don't plagiarize. And we're going to be using Chicago style. This provides you with the Chicago Style Quick Guide and the Purdue OWL Chicago Manual of Style, but I'll also start talking about Chicago Style as we move forward in this class, so you'll know how to do it by the time you get to the SLO. Below that, you have the discussion guideline and rubric. It tells you how I grade your discussion board post. I will be looking at the context and evidence, grammar and spelling, critical thinking and analysis, and engaging with classmates. So this means you have to reply to two of your classmates. You can't just say, "Good job, buddy." You really have to relate it back to the actual material. So if you're talking about prehistory, you need to be relating that reply back to your classmate to prehistory. Your initial answers need to be thoughtful answers that have specific points in them. You want to be more specific. You don't want to be very vague in your answers. But this is the rubric I use to grade all your discussion board posts. And let's go back to the lessons tab one more time. If we look underneath that, it has all the drop boxes for your major writing assignments. Here's the reflection paper drop boxes. Again, it tells you the due dates for those, so there's yet another place that has the due dates. It also tells you what you need to be doing for your reflection papers. You click on that, you'll have 4 drop boxes here for your reflection papers. Underneath that, you have the museum review drop box. It gives you the instructions for the museum review. It tells you that it is due on April 12th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. It also tells you you can do an additional museum review for the extra credit, and it provides the list of the approved virtual museums and the approved historical films. You click on that, you've got the drop box for that. Right below that, you've got the SLO Dropbox and instructions. The SLO essay, again, is due on May 2nd, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. You click it, it gives you more directions on the SLO. There are some in the syllabus, but this gives you a little bit more specifics. Again, you have the essay rubric right here in blue. You can click it and open it. It's also available in the syllabus, but it tells you your paper should be 5 to 7 pages. It needs to be double-spaced 12-point font. It needs to have Chicago-style formatting, and this does not include the title page and reference page. You actually have to have 5 to 7 pages of text. You should not be using Wikipedia as a reference. You should have scholarly sources, and you need a minimum of 3 to 5. So that's where Galileo can become your friend. You can also use your textbook as a source. That might be helpful to you. And there's the Dropbox for that essay. Now, I'm going to wrap this video up by looking at an example of what one of the lessons will look like. We're going to just look at lesson 1 because it's the first lesson. If we open it up, you see the first thing you need to do is do the student introduction. You're just introducing yourself to your classmates. You need to reply to 2 classmates. Then underneath that, it gives you terms you need to know for lesson 1 and the textbook pages. We're looking at pages 1 to 20 in lesson 1. There's a link for PowerPoints and lectures. There's a PowerPoint and lecture that is put out that you can listen to, but I will also be posting lectures and PowerPoints as well. They will say heard lesson number 1 PowerPoint or heard lesson number 1 lecture. I will be posting those on Mondays. So lesson 1 will go on January the 11th, and lesson 2 will go on the very next Monday. I post every Monday for the lessons, when the lessons start. So if we look at the course schedule, lesson 1 starts on January 11th. You'll get a video on January 11th by the end of the day. Lesson 2 starts on January the 19th. You will get a video and a PowerPoint from me by the end of the day on January 19th. And I'll do that for every lesson. I will send you an announcement when my video is posted as well. Underneath that is the online readings section. This is very important that you know what the online readings are, because this is how you will answer your discussion board post and do your reflection papers. Let's click on lesson 1 online readings. There are online readings for every lesson. We click on it. There are 3 online readings. You'll read these 3 online readings. New Women of the Ice Age, A Brief Look at the Neanderthal. You'll read these 3 online readings, and you'll answer the discussion questions on that. You see discussion 1 here. They'll be based on those online readings, but you could also do a reflection paper on one of those readings if you found one of those readings really interesting. The reflection paper should be on online reading. Each lesson has online readings. The reflection paper should not be on the textbook readings. They should be on online readings. Underneath that are some videos, links to videos on YouTube that talk about this particular topic. They're very interesting videos. You have your quiz. Number 1, some lessons have more than one quiz, but lesson 1 only has one quiz. You will see that on the assignments. And then you've got discussion 1, and it says click the link above and create a thread to see the prompt. So if we do this and click thread, it will bring you up here, and it will say lesson 1 prehistory discussion questions. And it says answer 3 of the 4 questions below, then reply to 2 classmates. So you pick 3 of these 4 questions that you have preferred to answer, and you answer them. You should answer them in several sentences. You shouldn't just write one sentence for each answer. And then you're going to go and look at your classmates' answers and reply to 2 of your classmates. There's also some further explorations. You can click on that if you want to learn more. There are links to articles and art galleries and videos that you can look at to learn more about this particular topic. And that's just an example of lesson 1. If you click on lesson 2, it's laid out the exact same way. Again, my PowerPoints and lectures will be posted by the end of the day on the day that the lessons start. So I will end there. If you have any questions, please send me an email or message me in Blackboard. Messaging me in Blackboard is really the best way to communicate with me, but I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.